freedom for me is all my data that I put out there digitally. So all my tweets, Facebook posts, emails, I should own that data. That should be mine. And I should be free to do with it as I like. If I want to sell that, to some analytics engine, then I should get some sort of monetary compensation for that. Blockchain technology empowers that and enables that. The freedom to do with my data, as I choose. I look at it, it's like my blood. If I want to go donate blood, I should be free to do that anytime I want, to help out. But if somebody comes to my house and forces me, to do that, that's wrong. That's not free.
So hi, Jared. Thank you very much for making time for us. We know you're very busy as the founder of DigiByte.
It's a real honor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your background, literally and figuratively speaking?
Yeah, so I was born in a very, very remote part of the United States, in a state called Idaho. You even ask most Americans and they don't know where it is. And I grew up not too far from where this photo in my background was taken. And the cool thing about Idaho is people kind of refer to parts of it as like the Switzerland of the United States. So we actually have more rural mountains and areas than any other part of the lower 48. So I was very fortunate to have a very diverse upbringing. On one side of my family, I had a bunch of farmers and cowboys. And then my mom was a computer scientist working for the government, working with nuclear technology. So I was fortunate she taught me how to code at a very early age. And basically, I've been messing around with computers ever since I was 8 years old. And
are you married? Do you have kids?
I do have a daughter. She's about to turn 2. She's growing fast, absolutely becoming the light of my life. And it's pretty amazing, watching a little human being discovering the world for the first time.
But how did you become a blockchain programmer? It's like, you started when it was just there. So there's not.
Yeah, I ask myself that every day. It's not something I planned on. Obviously, when I started, it's not something you could go to school for. Like I said, my mom was a computer scientist. So, by the time I was a teenager, I was writing code, I was building websites for people. This is like 2003, 2004, 2005. I mean, most people still had dial-up internet because of the financial crisis in the United States that was unfolding around the world. I was actually forced to drop out my junior year and kind of had to go to the real world, and nobody was hiring, so I started my own computer business because that's what I knew. So I was fixing computers, making websites. This was like 2007, 2008, and I did that for a few years. Fast forward to 2012, I had a problem. I was looking on an online forum. Some guy gave an answer, and another guy was like, "Well, thank you very much. How can I repay you?" And the guy's like, "Well, you can pay me in Bitcoin, haha." And I was like, "What's Bitcoin?" And that's pretty much where it started. And I've been going down the rabbit hole ever since.
So almost from the very beginning of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was not the very, very beginning, but pretty close.
Yeah.
And I dove in right away. I started mining. I think I bought my first Bitcoin when it was like $5.30. Also started mining. Don't have as many of them as I did back then. That was 9 years ago, but it's been an amazing journey. And, I basically dove into the Bitcoin core code and started saying, hey, I think there's some areas we can improve some things. We can make it better. That culminated, I basically went through the Bitcoin core code in 2013 for about a year. The fall of 2013, I was like, hey, I think I could make a better test protocol, and then some of the improvements could be put into Bitcoin. And that was how DigiByte was created on January 10th, 2014. At the time, I really didn't know. I just put it out on the forum. I was like, hey guys, I'm going to test a bunch of new stuff. Anybody who wants to help me do this, here you go. And it blew me away just instantly that there were people from all over the world that wanted to kind of help out and contribute. And that's a beautiful thing about DigiByte. is it's been a truly grassroots movement from the beginning. You know, there was never a company, there was never an ICO, there was never a mass pre-mine. It was just volunteers from the beginning, and that's what's given DigiByte such a solid base to stand on.
And what's your vision, Jared, when you started DigiByte? Did you have a vision, or?
I was looking through the existing cryptocurrencies, and even back then, you had, you know, some that were started that are scams. Most of them are dead now. You know, they were dead 5 years ago. But I'm like, you know, I would love to be a part of a cryptocurrency that's fast, that's scalable, that's decentralized, that doesn't have a centralized group controlling the coins or the minting, or, you know, something that I would believe in is, you know, I figured if I could create something that I believed in and wanted to be a part of, that maybe there were other people out there that would want to be part of that too.
What are you most proud of?
I'm absolutely blown away. I never expected it to get to this level. You know, there's so many amazing people from around the world working daily to contribute, to help out. And the beautiful thing is there is no centralized group. Nobody's getting paid. Nobody's, you know, I mean, there's commercial projects that have popped up, which I encourage. You know, I mean, there's a whole ecosystem emerging. Thousands of people, probably more than that. I mean, I think at this point, it's safe to say there's probably been millions of people around the world that have at one point or still do have held DigiByte, or, you know, people come and go, but after almost 8 years, I mean, that's to be expected. But it's, you know, there's been some people that have been here from the beginning, but, you know, more than anything, it's grown into a worldwide community.
Why do you think that is, that so many volunteers want to help?
That desire to just have more freedom, or to just live your life, you know, as long as you're not harming other people. I think that kind of mentality, and it's not just a certain religion or a certain race. It's, you know, I think there's that desire to live a happy, better life all over the world. And I think those like-minded individuals come together, and I know there's a ton of lifelong friendships that have been created through the DigiByte community. And every single person that downloads a wallet, which, you know, we call a node, becomes part of the network to help secure it. So, you know, it doesn't cost anything. It's free to anybody. And that's how you participate and be part of the ecosystem. And that benefits people, you know, all over the world.
One of the most important gains with blockchain technology is decentralization. And about a week ago, you posted a Twitter on Twitter that truly decentralized blockchain technology can help protect human rights. Can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, a lot of people, I don't want to get overly technical here, but a lot of people think that blockchain and crypto is just money. Well, money is just the first use case that has, you know, it's captured people's attention.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't, you know, they think that blockchain just kind of popped up overnight, but that's not the case. I like to describe a blockchain. It's like a car, right? And in a car, you have the engine, you have the transmission, you have the brakes, you have all these different subsystems that make a car. Well, just like that, in a blockchain, you have all these different mathematical subsystems, right? You have the transactions where you send and receive transactions. You have the mining piece that, you know, helps secure the network. And you have some very, very advanced mathematical concepts that have actually had their roots, you know, going back all the way to Caesar ciphers. A lot of this foundational stuff has found its way into the modern blockchain. So it's a lot of highly advanced mathematical cryptography that allows for the highest levels of security that can be achieved. And once you kind of understand how all that works, you can tap into that, and you can use a blockchain to do all sorts of things. For instance, securing healthcare records, right? You know, when you go to the doctor, the only two people that really need to know all your previous details are you and your doctor. But the insurance or the billing, you know, they don't need to see all the details. They don't need to keep it in an unsecured database. You can use different public and private key setups to do this. But it can also be used to protect secure messaging. You know, so if you're in a country with a regime or a government that's trying to crack down on political dissidents, there's already blockchain-based messaging apps that are emerging that are much more secure. They don't use a phone number. because for the most part, cell phones and mobile phones are not very secure. But more importantly, it has the ability to fix the internet itself. The analogy that I like to give is, the modern internet that we use today had its foundation in what, 1967?
Mhm.
Well, back then computers were very small. They weren't very powerful. So the whole idea of encryption and security wasn't even included in the conversation because computers just couldn't quite process it and it would be unusable. So the entire internet that we use today is built, I liken it to like a bridge. So let's say you have a bridge that was built out of wood and sticks in the 1800s.
Mhm.
And then in the early 1900s, they put some heavy cast iron over it, right? And then, let's say, 20, 30 years ago, they put some asphalt and a new paint job under it. Well, it may look nice from the outside, but that underlying infrastructure is still that rotting wood built on, some quicksand that's slowly eroding. And that's the modern internet we have. And it's not, that's why we have so many security vulnerabilities. And every day you're seeing a new hack or this or that, because the infrastructure was never designed to be secure. So with blockchain, we have the ability to create a completely new digital system that's has security and privacy in mind from the ground up. And that kind of focuses around the wallet, because your wallet can secure much more than your Bitcoin or DigiByte. It can secure health records. It can be your identity. So you can control who has access to it, who sees it. There's all sorts of possibilities that can come from this.
So that also relates a little bit to our next question, because the theme of our book presentation, it's freedom. And we were wondering, what does freedom mean to you? And how do you think that cryptos and blockchain technology contributes to freedom?
Yeah, so I think that's a very straightforward answer for me. I mean, freedom for me is giving myself the ability to do anything that I would like, whether it's digitally or moving around, as long as I'm not harming any other person or individual or the collective good, right? Freedom to speak freely is huge. That's why it's the First Amendment in the United States Constitution. But that's being eroded. And I know a lot of places on the world, they don't have that. So, one of the things blockchain can do is protect free speech and allow somebody to go out there and to keep from being censored.
Yeah.
Just like you can't stop somebody from opening a DigiByte wallet or a Bitcoin wallet and sending a transaction. That is the first freedom on the internet, true freedom we've had is you can't go shut down somebody's Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah.
Now, if you trust the third-party exchange that runs it for you, then yes, they can. So that's an important, thing to understand, is you got to take charge of your own private keys in your own wallet.
Some people suggest that there is a competition amongst blockchain. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a free market. I think competition is inevitable. And I think competition and adversity drives innovation. Part of the reason we say that DigiByte's been battle hardened is it's been attacked several times, never successfully, but when these things have happened, we're like, oh, maybe we should improve this. Maybe we should make this better, which is why over the last 7-8 years, it's been a continual series of innovations. Then you see another blockchain that adds a new feature and you're like, hey, we could do something similar to that, but a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that competitive landscape is what's driven the innovation. If you look at it, there's only been 6 blockchains that have consistently been in the top 100 for the last 6 years, and DigiByte's one of them.
Yeah.
In that meantime, hundreds have come and gone. So by no means, I think we're at a point where you're going to have some long-term winners that are going to be around, but I'm always telling people, hey, we've constantly got to be updating and innovating and getting better, because we don't want to get left in the dust. We're getting to a point in this industry, in the crypto industry, where this technology is going to go one way or the other. And what I mean by that is crypto technology can be abused. It can be used to further enslave humanity. And what I mean by that is imagine a central bank issuing a digital currency where they can monitor every transaction you make, shut down your wallet and account in real time. And if they don't like something you say on social media, have an AI algorithm that automatically censors you and keeps you from going and buying food.
Yeah.
That's already been rolled out in China.
Yeah.
So
That's
on
scary.
the flip
That's
side,
scary.
we're on the flip side, something like DigiByte that's truly decentralized. There is no central authority controlling things. You are in charge of your own data, your own money, your own system. And it's so important people understand right now that there are two paths emerging, and that, you know, you want to be on the side of human freedom and liberty, because there are a lot of people, a lot of charlatans out there claiming that, oh, they're building blockchain technology and it's decentralized when it's really not. And it's pushing towards this other way. So just because somebody says it's a blockchain doesn't mean it's decentralized and free. And those mathematical, you know, cryptographic, highly advanced pieces of technology, like those subsystems, they can still be used to further control people. So it's really important right now, especially at this pivotal point, that people, you know, and overall, you know, make the choice to, hey, I want to further support truly, you know, truly decentralized blockchain.
There are people that are afraid to start with crypto, and that's, I think, part of our target group that are currently afraid to start with crypto. Also because it is said that crypto is a scam, it's a bubble, and things like you are saying, everything that is good can also be misused. So what is your advice to those people?
Oh, well, first of all, start small. I mean, never put, you know, don't bet your house or your retirement. I mean, just take like five euros. You know, start small. The most important thing is to learn how to properly secure your own wallet.
Yeah.
And so what we mean by wallet is just like you put, you know, cash in a physical wallet, you can have a wallet on your phone, you can have a wallet on your tablet, you can have a wallet on your desktop computer or PC. And there's dozens of different types of wallets. There's also hardware wallets. But the most important thing is there's private keys. And just like the keys to your house or the keys to your car, you want to keep track of them and you want to keep them secure.
Yeah.
Because one of the worst things that I hate hearing is when somebody comes to me and says, Jared, I got a bunch of DigiByte in 2014 and I lost my keys and I lost my wallet. It was on an old phone that I didn't think about and threw away 5 years ago. But also the most important thing of that is to actually control your own wallet, because if you just trust an exchange or some other group to store it for you, there's numerous cases where those exchanges just turn off the lights one day and they disappear with your money. That doesn't happen as much now as it did in the past, but it still happens.
Yeah.
And it can happen if the government comes in and says, hey, well, we're seizing all your crypto. You know, and that's one of the things I warn people in the United States. You know, in 1933, the U.S. government, which, you know, supposedly land of the free, came in and banned people from owning physical gold and silver for 44 years.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I think there's going to come a time when they're going to do this and try and do this in the United States with crypto. And, you know, you could see it in Europe too. You know, it's governments, if they feel like they're losing control of the monetary system and finance. So there is no substitute for taking control of your own crypto funds and properly securing them.
Yeah.
And then also making sure you have a plan in place. You know, if something happens to you, that can be passed on to your children or your loved ones or your spouse, and that they know how to do that.
You can pay with DigiByte and it's super fast, involves hardly any transaction costs. Do you think that this will completely replace the traditional money in time?
I don't ever see the traditional money completely ever going away. But the thing to understand, and this is where a lot of people get confused, Bitcoin is a hard capped cryptocurrency. DigiByte is a hard capped cryptocurrency. And what I mean by that is there's only going to be a max supply of 21 million Bitcoin. There's only going to be a max supply of 21 billion DigiByte. So it's a 1 to 1,000 ratio. So for every one Bitcoin in existence, there's going to be 1,000 DigiByte. So because it is finite, because it is limited, a lot of times it actually doesn't work that well as a currency, like merchants, because it fluctuates a lot, right? What it does make more sense is like a long-term value store that you can move back and forth, right? Almost as a hedge against inflation. And if you look at the United States right now, the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. It can be printed to infinity.
Yeah.
And they're getting it. I mean, just in the last 12 months alone, since this COVID crisis started, the United States has printed almost 30% of all the dollars it has in its entire existence, going back to 1776. Because people are staying at home, there's not as much production happening. You have more dollars chasing less goods and services, which is also part of the reason you've seen these massive rallies in crypto. And it's important for people to understand that, yes, if Bitcoin's at 60,000 US dollars, that's as much to do with the devaluing of the US dollar as it is the increase in crypto. So, and that's another reason that it's hard to use Bitcoin or DigiByte as a currency, because if you have a 20 or 30% fluctuation in a day, and you're a restaurant with 7 or 8% margins, it's not going to work out very well for you. So, I encourage people, hey, if you truly believe in it and the idea, hold long term. People day trade. Yes, there's a lot of volatility. But for me, I don't really do that. For me, it's long term, because long term, I know it's simple math.
Yeah.
There's only so many Bitcoin and DigiByte out there, but there's an infinite amount of fiat currencies, and it's not just the US dollar. They're doing this with the euro. They're doing this, the Chinese renminbi. They're doing this with currencies around the world.
Yeah.
And Jared, what do you think DigiByte is, other than payments, suitable for?
There's 3 layers. So at the bottom layer, at its core, DigiByte is a communications protocol. So when the wallets are talking to each other, they're communicating. And there's some things that can be done with that haven't really been fully utilized yet. Such as secure messaging, or communications, encrypted, even voice chat, stuff like that has never really been leveraged. Now, how do you incentivize people to run these nodes, as we call them, or wallets, which effectively create this communication? Well, that's where you need an asset incentive layer, which is where DigiByte as a cryptocurrency comes into place. And right, so that's what incentivizes people to run these nodes around the world, or these wallets.
Yeah.
But then the top layer is what we call the applications layer. And that's where you can do all sorts of cool stuff. So like, for instance, one of the first real world use cases I built on that applications layer out of Hong Kong starting in 2016 was a way to secure international trade shipments, where basically, a purchase order or a bill of lading was made to a factory in China. And that entire process was cryptographically hashed and secured into the DigiByte blockchain to secure the shipment back to the United States. So there was undisputable proof that contract and agreement was made at that specific point in time. So that was one application. Now there's been multiple other applications. We have another layer on top of DigiByte called DigiAssets, where you can create. So a government could actually come in and create their own currency on top of DigiByte to issue it in whatever format they wanted, or a local community. You could issue concert tickets as tokens on top of the DigiByte blockchain. You can create what are called NFTs, which is all the new rage, which are rare, unique collectibles. It's really, there's all sorts of applications here. But then there's also something we call DigiID, which is you can use your DigiByte wallet to replace passwords. So the passwords you have for your bank account or your website, you can actually replace that. And instead of having to remember all these different passwords, you can use one very secure string of characters in your private key to authenticate. And you can have multiple wallets. I've actually worked on some prototypes in my house where I can actually control my light bulbs, my door lock, and my light switches with my DigiByte wallet private keys. This is going to IoT. So So DigiByte is much more than just a cryptocurrency. It's a decentralized network. And that network, like I said, has those three levels: that base communications layer, that asset layer, and the applications layer. And there's almost an infinite amount of possibilities that you can do with this, which is important for people to understand when you're looking at all these other blockchain. Like if you go to CoinMarketCap and look at the top 100, most of them are dependent on another blockchain.
Yeah.
And there's only about a handful of truly decentralized networks like DigiByte in the world today, which is why, you know, the current valuation metrics are all messed up, because it doesn't, that security aspect doesn't come in contact. There's really only about 5 blockchain infrastructure networks out there in the world today.
Is there an easy way to spot them, or to, if you're like a layman like us?
I'm working on a new platform for this exact reason, to help break this down, you know, as simply as possible and straightforward. I don't have it up yet. I'll go ahead and give the name. The name is going to be cryptoveracity.com. It'll be designed for beginners to help break down, you know, this is what decentralization looks like, but like, this is why the network is more stable, secure, and decentralized, which actually brings the most long-term value to humanity.
Yeah.
I think it's really needed.
Oh, it is. It's absolutely very much needed. So that's why I was like, well, I should probably get on it. So that's my focus and my goal for 2021.
Of every book that we sell through our website, we will donate €1.50 to the DigiByte Foundation. Can you explain to us what the DigiByte Foundation means for DigiByte blockchain?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for doing that and taking the initiative and contributing. Well, the DigiByte Foundation is actually set up in the Netherlands. I'm not a direct part of it. I completely support it, but I decided it's best for decentralization that, you know, I'm not like in any way controlling it or directing it. But the DigiByte Foundation helps with several things. It helps contribute for development, first of all, so core protocol development, helps provide awareness, and it's providing a bridge, kind of a headway into, you know, commercial applications on top of DigiByte. So when you have a corporate company come in and say, hey, I want to partner with DigiByte,
yeah,
and you explain to them, well, you don't need our permission, you can just use it.
It's my
like, yeah, it's just confusing. So part of the job of the DigiByte Foundation has been to kind of be that, you know, bridge from the traditional, you know, corporate environment into the decentraland.
Yeah. So they will not all call you.
Yeah, so they don't all call me.
What's your dream for the future, Jared?
You know, and for the world, my biggest dream is that we take this path, like we talked about earlier, of truly liberating, freeing blockchain technology applications to empower humanity and the individuals. And I mean, my biggest dream is for individuals to take charge not only of their own financial future and freedom, but their own data and privacy. I mean, you should have a right to privacy on the internet. You should have a right to control and do with your data as you see fit, and that should be protected in a way that nobody can take it from you. You know, no government, no corporation, no individual. And so that is absolutely my dream, is the true digital, you know, liberty for humanity.
Wow.
Yeah, and you've done a real great job contributing to that so far.
Well, that's the best I can do. So I figure if I can, and I get a bunch of other like-minded individuals, you know, like yourself from around the world to you know, work towards that, I think humanity arrives at a much better place. And then, you know, I think of my daughter. What world do I want her?
Yeah.
You know, by the time she's my age, you know, what world do I want her to live in?